Hi, this is Joyce Farrell. Let's look at creating a class. Suppose you decide to start a house-sitting business and you decide that one of the classes you'll need is a house-sitting contract that holds data about each contract you have with a client. You might decide that some of the data that you'll need is a client's name as a string and the number of days of the contract as a numeric variable. Typically, when you create a class, you make most data to be private. Making the data private constructs a sort of barrier around it that prevents outside classes or outside programs from using the data in any way that the class has not approved of. For example, suppose you start a program and you declare a house-sitting contract object named contract. If you decide to assign a value to contract.client, when you attempt to access the client, you can't get in. The data is private. This statement is illegal. Instead, what you have to do is create a method with a name like setClient that can accept a client's name as a parameter and make the assignment. This method is public, meaning an outside program can use it. So in your program, if you say contract.setClient and pass in an argument, this is a call to the setClient method. The name is passed in as a parameter to the method. The method makes the assignment, and the method is allowed to make the assignment because it's part of the same class. A class method can get at its own class's data. Here's a more detailed public method called setDays. It accepts the number of days in a contract and assigns it only if it's within the proper range. This method declares a maximum number of days and checks to make sure the days passed in don't exceed that. This is a better example of why you sometimes want methods to protect your private data from being set in ways that the class does not agree with. So, if you make a statement in your program like contract setDays, this calls the public method and sends in the argument as a parameter. The parameter can then be assigned, and the method can get at its own data and make the assignment. Here's a statement that attempts to output the contract's client's name. When you try to get the client's name, it can't get out because the data is private. This is an illegal statement. Instead, what you might want to do is add a public method called getClient that returns the client's name to an outside program. You might add a name to your program, a string, and then you might assign contract.getClient to that name. Contract.getClient is a method call, and the method in the class can access its own data, and that can be returned to the outside. Then you might output the name. Incidentally, these two statements, name equals contract.getClient and then output name, could be combined into one, output contract.getClient. You could add another public method to your class to return the private days, and then you could output the days within the program. When you finish a class, you typically add an end class statement, and when you finish a program, of course, you typically add a stop statement. That's a quick look at creating and using a class. Thanks for watching.